Hi everyone, welcome to the very first podcast. Firstly, I would like to thank everyone who has tuned in for this podcast. This podcast might create an impact, small or big, among the audience in figuring out their career and getting more insights. Today, I have Chandrakanth who has worked on some great technologies which help organizations streamline their operations and achieve significant milestones. Chandrakanth is an NLP engineer with passion for leveraging AI technologies to revolutionize how we interact with machines and understand human language. With a background in data science master's degree from Liverpool John Moore University, Chandrakanth has been at the forefront of developing cutting-edge algorithms that power speech models, virtual assistants, and large language models. Now let's dive into his expertise and get some insights on some of the projects that he has worked on. With these emerging technologies, what do you think are the potential risks? So I have invested just 30,000 rupees and now the same course is being sold for 3 lakhs. Can you please talk about, the transition that happened during the pandemic?
Obviously, it will impact the Indian market in several ways. So one is economic impact. Okay, so all these Modi ji, voice conversions are doing by RVC itself. So it's just a simple UI. So when you speak, you have a certain time frame. When I speak, I have a certain time frame, right? So speaker derivation job is to understand who has spoken at what time.
Hi Chandrakanth, welcome to the show. I'm thrilled to kick off our very first podcast with you as our guest. And in this podcast series, we would love to explore about stories of individuals like yourself, and we would love to know more about your journey and how you have started in data science domain and how things rolled out in your early stages of your career. So just take a few minutes and just go about introducing yourself.
Hi Sridatta, thanks for having me here. I'm honored to be your first guest in this podcast. The setup is also very good, so I'm already feeling a vibe of giving the proper podcast. So coming back to your question, so like typical Indian family, so they force their children to complete their engineering courses. So I am also one of the victim of that person. So I have chosen engineering as my undergraduate career.
Okay.
So I was baffled up, okay, when I joined engineering. In the first year, I'm clueless. I don't know anything about things. So 1 year has been passed. So I haven't done anything much crazy, I can say. So in the second year, I got introduced to one thing called ethical hacking. So who was Satish, so who was giving the workshop to our college. So that's a whole day workshop. So we were thrilled actually when I got to know about ethical hacking, what it does usually. So it was amazing. So they usually go upon email hacking and website phishing. So how easily people get fooled by the fake websites. So I felt like, yeah, that's a crazy stuff which I wanted to do in my career. So I thought like ethical hacking would be my right path. So I was so excited to be on that particular workshop. I learned a lot. So from that workshop related to the ethical hacking. So as the year goes on, in my third year or fourth year, first semester, so slowly my interest towards ethical hacking got reduced and shifted towards the web developer.
Web development, okay.
Web developer. So I started creating some static websites and thinking a lot about how to make it dynamic by reading all the articles. I have this tendency to show this, whatever the work I've done, I have a tendency to show to my friends as well. So with that, they really liked it, all the websites which I am developing. But I don't know, for no reason, so that interest has also got, that was a fickle minded, as you know that in engineering how fickle mind people we are. So later on stage I got more interested into developing, so I got an opportunity to join as a data analyst in one of the company, service based company, but that too related to infrastructure analytics for one of the famous production house called Warner Brothers. So I started my career in 2016. That is the realm of my technology domain, technology career, which has kickstarted. So from 2016 to 2017, half until end of that year, 2017. So I was completely into infrastructure analytics, doing visualization tools for all the production houses across the world. So they have 3 production houses in Leavesden, Burbank, and London. So we do all visualization stuff to that one. So later on stage, so I don't know. I was very fortunate, I can say. I was stumbled upon one of the course, okay, was introduced by my friend. So he was more interested in data science. So the term called a data science in 2018, I guess. So he introduced that course. He told me about the data science course. So when I researched about the data science course, how it is related, So it was more of towards the mathematics is the prerequisite. So as I'm interested in mathematics, I thought like, yeah, this would be the right.
You are good at mathematics
Yeah,
from
I
your
was
early
good
stage?
at mathematics and I was more interested in doing the mathematics. That was the time when I got to know about what exactly the applied mathematics is. So whatever we learned so far is
Yes.
just an
Yeah.
mathematics, but there is a concept called applied mathematics.
Yeah.
So that is a proper stuff which data science is been doing right now. Okay, so yeah, I took that course. Me and my friend has took that course. That's a 1 year course which we took. Okay, and in 2018 end itself, in the current company, in that company itself, I got an opportunity to work on the ML project. That was an in-house project, I can say, related to ticketing tool. So using the machine learning language, we need to develop some automated stuff. And then I thought to switch to other company on 2018 end. So I got an opportunity in 2019 to join in one of the SaaS-based stealth mode AI company. It's a startup. It's a completely product-based startup where they are developing a platform for multi-models. So I got an opportunity to work as an NLP engineer in 2019.
Great.
So as soon as I completed my certification, so I worked from 2019 to 2021 in that stealth mode product-based SaaS company. Then I switched to other company which is completely conversational AI as a NLP engineer itself. And then now other product-based company. Now I'm working as a AML engineer from 2023 to till now. Now I'm working as a AML engineer.
Okay.
That's how my career is progressing.
That's great.
And by the way, in 2020, I completed my master's as well.
Okay, from?
2020 to 2022, that was a period where I completed my master's degree.
Okay, great. You mentioned about enrolling into data science, right? So yeah, just like how you have got introduced to data science through your colleagues or friends, just like that, even I was introduced to data science. But even before jumping into career, like choosing what I have to choose, it happened the same for me as well. So I have seen many of my friends and colleagues who are learning data science from online platforms like Udemy and YouTube as well. And if yeah, there are many YouTubers out there. They are just teaching it for free, and many people are learning it from YouTube and Udemy as well. Do you think it would impact in a way for any individual enrolling in a data science course for 1 year or like 1.5 year program versus a person who's just learning from YouTube or Udemy?
Okay, so that's a good question, though. Honestly speaking, in my personal opinion, so there is a digital transformation which happened before 2020 and after 2020. It's like a pre-pandemic and a post-pandemic. So that's complete learning curve has been shifted. Okay, people started understanding the online education, how it is going to be. So I feel it's depend upon the individual dedication. Okay, so if they are dedicated towards their course or job, whatever it might be, so if they want to upskill their careers, now content is everywhere. You get content in quality content, I can say, in many sources. So you need to choose the right course, okay, which helpful for your career. Okay, so there's a concept called learning by doing, so that you get mostly in your job. But there's a when you are going for a new concepts, right, like a new gen technologies, so you need to be more serious and get a proper path. I can say that you need to stick upon their curriculum. Okay, go through their curriculum and go through the instructors who are their background. Okay, so where they're coming from and what's their experience. If they're coming from product based companies or coming from startups who has a very good knowledge on this domain, so their experience will be sharing to the students, right? So that would be a good learning experience, I can say, rather than choosing the just theoretical approaches in YouTube or random sources. So have a good research before enrolling to that particular course. That would be helpful for the people. So now everything is online, so choose the right platform and choose the right course by doing research, so would be helpful for the individual.
So I see so many courses out there. They have started with at a very affordable cost for anyone to learn it. But now that the same platforms, they have like hiked up their course cost to like somewhere around people can't even afford it. Like now I see people are like charging 3 lakhs or like 2 lakhs beyond that. Like anyone couldn't afford that much. So obviously when that is the scenario, uh, people who want to learn will not be having the funds to invest into that expensive course. So what will be the alternative for those people out there?
Okay, That's the interesting question, by the way. When you are not able to afford that particular, yeah. By the way, because of the hike, right? Price hikes are mostly proportional to the demand of that particular course. So when the course is in huge demand in the market and in the current scenarios, obviously they try to cash that particular course, right? But people who can't afford, they need to choose the right courses in open sources like Kaggle. So I suggest to go through the Kaggle GitHub pages, so where they provide a lot of information, free information, that to quality information. So I can refer some of the articles where they provide the open source like Medium, Reddit, okay, Stack Overflow. So where you get some quality content to learn and get enrolled to the few courses. Coursera is one such platform where you get some understanding of understanding throughout the courses instead of going for a fancy, curriculum having 3.5 lakhs, 4 lakhs things. So this would be the right step kickstart their career.
So I have invested just 30,000 rupees, and now the same course is being sold for 3 lakhs. If I wouldn't have enrolled in the early stages, now I'll have to spend obviously twice or thrice of what I have spent in the early stages.
True.
Post after getting a certificate, you have signed up for a master's degree.
Yes, on
So
2020.
can you just briefly describe how was your experience? I don't know whether it is online or offline.
Okay.
So just briefly go through about how was your experience graduating from a master's degree.
So as I said, having said before, 2020, where I started my master's degree. So I was working for a company. As I said, it's a stealth mode, SaaS-based AI company. So mostly into NLP. So I thought to take that career seriously. So to want to be more deeper into that one. So I searched. So many people told me that if you have a master's degree in certain specific area, so you will be more recognizable. So you will get some expertise on that particular area. So I thought that's the right path to have the degree into my education qualification. I just researched again. So what would be the best way to get while doing the works and getting the post graduation. I thought like IIIT Bangalore and Liverpool John University, they have collaborated and they are providing the master's degree for the working professionals.
Okay.
So I got enrolled. I gave an exam and I got enrolled. I got admission from that particular university. Started my career in weekly hours. So later it got turned to online because of pandemic. So completely. So from 2020 to 22, so it was like a rigorous program, I can say, where you need to submit the assignments on a weekly basis, provide the exams on monthly basis, submit the projects and assignments on 3 months basis. So that's a continuous course. It goes from 1 year to around 1.6, I can say. So where you complete the diploma program, post-graduation program in IIIT Bangalore. There is a criteria that you need to get 2.6 at least out of 4 CGPA.
Okay.
So I got 2.8 CGPA from that company. So I'm eligible for enroll to the master's program. So as soon as I received my CGPA, I enrolled to the master's program. And thesis work is one interesting area. So I got an opportunity to work with the professors from Liverpool John University. So where they helped me to select the data, select the project, select the domain, and work on the thesis for the next 6 to 8 months. So that journey was happened. All the literature review, everything is went very well on that 6 to 8 months with the PhD candidate.
Okay. I see some people, even my colleagues from previous company and from the present company and few friends out there, they are preferring to get master's degree. And some people contradict, saying that if you have relevant experience in a specific domain, you will not require a master's degree. So from your personal experience, what is your say about that? Getting a master's degree will impact in any way, or just having some relevant experience will give enough exposure to handle with any AI related project?
Okay, that's debatable because see, having a master's degree is an entry pass. Okay, so many of the recruiters will go through because they usually think the person who has a master's degree will have a more subject knowledge on that specific area which they are expecting. But now the content is everywhere. You get a quality content right from the undergraduation itself. So I feel instead of evaluating through the education qualifications, they need to evaluate through the skills. So you get skills through by working as well. While doing the work, you gain some experience, real time experience as well. So it goes on hand to hand, like how well you achieve your goals based on the knowledge you acquire, based on the sources you are into. I mean, you're going through, and where exactly you are in.
Name any few projects from your entire career that have challenged you enough and you have got good learning curve from it.
Okay. So one of the challenging project which I feel is it's inclusive of both speech and NLP. So that was back then 2020, I guess. So where I was not introduced to speech much. Okay. So that's a new term for me because I was mostly into NLP, right? So one thing is I need to learn speech terminologies. There are a lot of terminologies included in speech. So when you are speaking, so that time I got to know that there are certain criteria you need to understand, which is sample rate, intensity, frames, how many frames per second. There's a time and frequency domain. Okay, so certain pace you speech and the acoustics. So these are the things, and the microphone, the words per second, the space you need to give for each sentence. So these are the things which you need to consider, it seems. So for the speech especially. So we learned that terminologies and understand the nuances of speech, how it works exactly, because the project is mostly from speech to when you utter something, right? That's a completely conversational AI, by the way. So we build a conversation system, human and AI interaction system, where you need to include everything. Okay, so including the feedback, understand the story provided by the user, process that story, and try to provide the right solution to the user. So that was the main thing, the essence of that particular project. So user has tend to speak anything. He can type or he can speak. So mostly people tend to talk over speech, right? So he just kick his microphone and he speaks. Moreover, whatever he speak may not be inclined towards the project. So he has a free hand to speak anything. So we need to process that information completely and understand what exactly he's speaking. That's completely speech to text. So when it comes to text, you need to process that particular text. If it is a big sentences, you need to simplify the sentences, because it's mostly related to entities, right? We need to identify the entities. So for that, there is a right set of sentence simplification you need to do. And you know that English grammar is one of the toughest grammar, I feel so, because you have a variety of sentences. It might be a compound sentence, complex sentence, and interrogation sentence. So there are wide variety of sentences. You need to understand what type of sentence that is. If it is a compound or complex, you need to simplify much more deeper into that one. As soon as you simplify that particular sentence, understand whether that is eligible for intent identification or not, because every sentence has a right intent. As soon as you identify the intent, understand the entity, whether any entity. Now, entity is also a noun here in English. So identify whether any nouns are present in that one. So it goes on. So as soon as you complete the text part, you need to convert again that text part to speech. So that was a big project we do. So moreover, on top of that, as I said, we need to include the small talk, the profanity. So when a user has a tendency to speak anything, he may use the abusive words as well. So we need to accept that abusive words, but while projecting, you need to provide through the asterisk marks, because we're not supposed to provide that asterisk mark. Provide that abusive word. So that was a challenging, we feel, because we got a good learning curve by learning the new technology called speech over there, and complete that speech to text, and again text to speech. So that's a complete cycle we went upon and delivered to the user, delivered to the customer. So that was very well appreciated by the business people as well, because for their solution they don't need to log into certain sense. So through the chatbot or to the integration with the handy websites, handy apps called Telegram, WhatsApp, so they can use their through the mobile app itself, they can get the solution. So that was a challenging project, I feel so.
So typically you have built speech to text model.
Yes, ASR part and the TTS,
TTS
part. So it's a complete end-to-end.
So is it like from the ground up that you have built
it? Completely, it's a ground. So as I told, like the nuances, starting from the nuances, we understood the nuances of speech, how it works, convert that to text, process the text completely, and convert again to the speech.
Great. Is it for Indic languages, or is it for in English?
First we started with English. Okay, later we went through the another language called Hindi and Telugu.
Okay. Okay.
So we stick upon three languages.
So it was challenging enough to understand.
Yeah, back then there was no proper data sets for the low resources languages
Yeah,
called
yeah.
Telugu and Hindi also. So we struggled. We created we have a linguistics. Okay, so where they have a thorough understanding of understanding the knowledge of the grammar, Telugu grammar or Hindi grammar. So they helped us. Okay, so to understand the linguistics part of the project.
Great. Even myself, I'm trying to get my hands on speech related
Nice.
products.
Nice.
Hopefully that turns out good. So like now that Gen AI is coming to picture, and many of the companies are adapting this technology, what do you think are like the most common myths people have about generative AI?
Uh, one myth is like related to job. Obviously, we need to upskill ourselves. We don't need to, we are not supposed to sit on the same path right from the more than 2 years or 3 years. You need to continuously upskill yourself, because instead of seeing in a negative way, why can't we see in a positive way? When you upskill with the latest technology, it opens the door, okay, for a open the door for a new job opportunity. It creates new opportunities. Okay, so I feel like getting upskill is the right way of overcome this struggle. So that's one of the common myth I can say. And one more myth which I am thinking now is like data leakage. So people has that understanding of they fear of losing their data, because data is a new oil, as I said before, and they are mostly fear of losing their data because it's a confidential and a private data. So that's the reason Microsoft, after acquiring the ChatGPT, right? Microsoft has turned off the chat history for few days because many people have raised the concerns that their data might be leaked, the chat history might be leaked to the public, and so later they rectified that problem, and they again redo the project of understand. I mean, getting the chat history back to the user.
Okay.
So that's completely a secure thing. So that was one of the another myth mostly people have.
So yeah, do you, like, from your experience, can you give any like few examples where with the capabilities of AI, if it can solve any complex problems across different industries?
Yeah. So generative AI, right? So we are living in a generative era. Okay, generative AI era. So obviously it tends to solve the complex problems across industries. One such industry I can say is healthcare, because many people need that treatment, medical treatment for their well-being. So when you take medical industry, healthcare industry, cancer is one such thing where people are not cracked as of now. But I've seen one company called Assembly. Okay, so where they have this is the first company they have leveraged the generative AI to solve the cancer treatment. So they have developed immunotherapy to treat the cancer for a particular patients. Okay, so they in our body usually, so we have a paroma protein, okay, which usually has developed in our body. But this cancer cells, that is called TCR, okay, so T cell emerges, which try to kill that protein, okay, and develop that cancer cells in our body. So this assembly, as I said, this company, right, they developed a AI engine called Emily, okay. They try to treat this immunotherapy to kill that particular cell which is developing, which is killing the protein in our body called paroma. Okay. So this is the first company as they completely use the ChatGPT similar framework, okay, so to solve this problem. And by this amazing thing, like usually clinical trials usually going to happen for 2 years, but this is the first company they have solved this complex problem within 11 months, and they went to the market, and they have started these clinical trials across the world and planning to complete this called as ETC 101. Okay, they are planning to complete by 2025. So we're going to get the treatment for a cancer as well, so using that immunotherapy, T cell emerges therapies which they are developing. That's one example. And there's one more neural disorders. So these kind of neural disorders, neural traumas people have been facing across the world. So there's a called BCI, so brain computer interfaces. Okay, so we're using this machine learning and AI technology. So they try to solve this complex brain disorder, and whoever facing this dreadly experience, right? So they're going to get it treated, diagnosed with this BCI, brain computer interface. So that's a good challenging problem. Okay, so that is solving in the healthcare industry. When it comes to banking industry, there is one such a good industry people are mostly relying upon. So they try to get solve their problem, solve the questions using the chat GPT chat. So HDFC is the first bank, okay, who has provided the virtual assistant to resolve the questions where the customers is having. So that's called as EVA, electronic virtual
Yeah, I've seen
assistant.
Eva. It's
EVA,
there on
right?
the website.
EVA on the website
Yeah.
as well. So they're solving the complex questions as well. So obviously it helps to save a lot of time, right? So instead of going to the bank like back then
Yeah.
in the old days, how people are going and getting the resolution in the bank.
Mhm.
So now it's completely a digital era using this EVA. So HDFC has done a great thing by introducing this EVA.
Great. That's amazing. So, with these emerging technologies, what do you think are the potential risks?
Oh, so obviously when you are obviously take your mobile. So mobile could be used for good things and bad things, right? So obviously when you are having a tool, uh, obviously you are inviting, it's bound to get some potential risks as well. Similarly, this emerging AI technology, we do face some kind of risks. Recently we are seeing in Instagram reels and all, like how the popular our Prime Minister Modi ji, how they are utilizing the Modi ji voice
Yeah.
for a simple reels. And also this I could feel like without the celebrity consent, if you go ahead and use their voices, that would be a severe issue, I can say. It's going to be a potential risk, because obviously they might use for a they misuse that the purpose of having the stardom would completely eradicate, right? So if you use his or her celebrity's voice, so that I could see the potential risk.
Okay. That's obviously a potential risk, and I've seen it on many reels as well. Like
Yeah,
people of celebrity faces, they
celebrity
just
faces, and they are cloning the celebrity voice and utilizing for a small things
yeah. That's
without their consent.
yeah. Apart from this, do you think there are any other potential risks out there?
So you can see deep fakes as well.
Yeah. Okay.
People are facing the deep fake, especially the celebrities are the prime victims here. So we're not supposed to misuse that technology. But now, thanks to government, they are bringing some policies and all. They have immediately caught that particular person, that victim who has done that accused person who has done that.
So, since you have explained about the potential risks that are coming from these emerging technologies, so there's one follow-up question to it again. So, I've come across a term called responsible AI. Can you briefly describe what it is and how it impacts these emerging technologies?
Okay. So, as far as the responsible AI is concerned, so when you are creating a AI models, artificial intelligence models, you're gonna deal with the data. So, how well you are protecting your data is the primary concern, as the data being rightly utilized for certain use case which you are working on. So, you need to protect that data and not misusing the data for a different way, because when you have a knife in the market, so that can be used in a good way or a bad way, right? So how well you are utilizing the best use of it, so would give you a good value to that particular product. So in a way that when you have data being protected and not being breached by some other companies or hacked by some other companies, so you will be more responsible towards that particular data. So that is one concern, one example we can take of it.
So I've seen a Reddit forum where people have posted. I don't know if it is Reddit forum or any other forum, but I've seen it on somewhere over the internet. Initial days of when ChatGPT came out, there were people trying to get Windows key from ChatGPT, and it is not just asking for the key. There is typical way they have structured the prompt, and they were able to get the Windows key from it. So obviously it is exploiting the policies from obviously the Microsoft product. So underlying its knowledge base, we never know, like today up to date, what type of data breaches can happen from any corner. So have you come across any of such instances?
Yeah, you're right actually. So you said it very well that people have tried, getting the cracks, okay, cracking keys from ChatGPT itself. Nowadays, if you see the ChatGPT 4 or 3.5, after that emerging new models, right? So it understood, so it fine-tuned its knowledge base, and it has restricted with certain policies that you're not supposed to leak that particular data. So obviously it is prompting back to the user that it's a confidential area, and when you are also dealing with critical information related to health and all, so it will obviously give a disclaimer. Even Google does that. So when you are searching for a certain area, obviously it answers you. It's going to provide you the information, but it provides you a disclaimer that you need to consult the doctor well before, instead of relying on this particular information, because it is just an information, not the actual thing,
Yeah.
right? So obviously this is how models who has developed, these organizations who have developed these models, right, are being more responsible by providing this kind of disclaimers, and updated their policies, fine-tuned their knowledge base to know that what is exactly we supposed to do with. Even Facebook is also doing Meta is also doing these kind of responsible AI when they develop these models using llamas and all. So in a recent podcast with Mark Zuckerberg, he has explained about the responsible AI and what are the critical factors they are considering and steps they are taking care of. When they are developing any large language models. So they have developed a huge language models there. So every model they develop, so they have updated these kind of policies. To be secure, to be sure, to ensure that they are strictly following that policies and more responsible towards the technology.
Got it. So when it comes to speech domain, you have spoken about how you have built an ASR model. So similarly, can you like describe few other projects from different use cases?
Yeah, well, see, when it comes to speech, right? So obviously, I deal with multi-modals. So when you say multi-modals, it's text, speech, and all. So text and speech goes hand to hand usually. So as far as speech is concerned, you need to deal with, there are a lot of nuances, okay, behind it. Having said before that, a lot of factors you need to consider, like frame rates, frequency domain, the sample rate especially, and phonetics, and prosody, okay, intensity. So these are the things where when you utter something, the speech has these factors you need to consider. Obviously these call it as a features, right? You are very well about the know about the features of models which we develop. So it's like speech also has a certain features. So one use case which we developed, it's related to voice conversion, okay? So where we have used voice conversion data for certain industries called edtech and entertainment industry, where we need to clone the audio from a source artist to the target artist. So here I need to tell a few things about a speech here. So obviously when you speak something, right, in the text, so there is a word terminology called phonem. Okay, so phonetic words. So obviously in our school days we have seen these words, phonetics. Let's say if it is a cat, bat, sat.
Yeah.
Okay, so only the last only the first word is getting changed. Ba, a, ti.
Yeah, correct.
That's how you pronounce,
Yeah.
right, the phonetics.
The last sound, the last sounding remains the same, but
Remains
only
the
the
same.
first
Yeah,
sounding
it will
keeps
change.
changing. Yeah.
So similarly for cat, ka, ta. So for sat, sa, ta. So this is how the phonetics goes. Okay, so when you utter something, so these words, the speech gets converted into your text, right? So when you have a text, obviously these phonetic labels will be there. Okay, so that needs to be converted and understood, very well understood by the models. So nowadays there's a term called self-supervised learning. Okay, so instead of completely reading, because the data in the data surrounding by us is not labeled anymore. Okay, so this is not just a labeling data, like you will classify something whether that's a cat or a bat. So it is way beyond that. Okay, you have unlabeled data. So when you have such kind of data, so you need to have a self-learning mechanism. Okay, so to understand this kind of unstructured data. So that's where the self-supervised learning comes into the picture. And obviously the Facebook is the pioneer in this one. So they have developed huge models like wave to wake and obviously this framework called PyTorch is being developed by the
Yeah,
Facebook
Meta.
itself, right?
Yeah.
And obviously they are pioneer in this one. They developed with these kind of models. So having said before, when you utter something, the phonetics will be converted, right? And obviously it would be developed and understood by the acoustic model, whatever the acoustic model you are trying to convert it. So where there is one paper, okay, so where usually when you have that phonetics word and you're trying to classify that label, phonetic label, so obviously you need to transform across each layers. But this paper has introduced another layer called bottleneck layer, where instead of relying only on the phonetics, you can also relying on the bottleneck features, where the linguistic features will exactly transfer. Because as we are working on the voice conversion, you need to transfer the source linguistic content to the target linguistic content. Just the speaker will get differ, okay, but the linguistic content remains same. That is only depending on the phonetics, whatever the phonetics you use. So there's also one more concept called PPG, so prior posterior program, so which will help us to rightly transfer the linguistic contents from a source to the target. So that's one thing. So now you have done with the linguistic content transfer. Now you need to provide the speaking mechanism. So obviously the target speaker mechanism you have to provide to the by removing the source speaker contents and attaching the target speaker contents, you're going to provide the exact voice conversion from source to target. So there comes the another concept called speaker similarity. So you convert that voice labels into an embeddings, and as soon as you get the embeddings, you get the target speaker and try to get the cosine similarity between the embeddings which you have converted from the speaker and the target. How well they are close to each other will be moved towards the target, and that's how you get the converted voice.
That's how the voice
Voice
conversion
conversion completely goes on
Okay.
from a source to back then. You have all this underlying technology called self-supervised learning. So in self-supervised learning you can use many models like wave to wake, Hubert. So there are many language models based on the transformers have developed this concept called Hubert, content wake. All these are based on the transformer models only. They are focused mostly on the linguistic transfer,
Okay.
content transfer.
Okay, that's great.
So that's the
So while you're explaining this, right, I've come across few use cases where they have used, I don't know whether they have used TTS or few other computer vision based models, but on Zomato, I've seen this few days back for Father's Day. So if I made some purchase for, if I fill the bucket of like 500 rupees or like, I don't know, there is some bar that they have set, and if I made the purchase satisfying the criteria, they will be like rewarding me with a video where if I type message to, like if I wanted to gift my father a message from a celebrity saying Father's Day wishes, so I can just type the content of it and it creates a video with the audio as well, impersonating some other celebrity, and obviously like whatever content that I type, that will be the final output. So this is one of the interesting use case that I have seen.
I remember one more use case about the Cadbury. So the
Cadbury, yeah, right,
Cadbury
okay.
they have developed for the Diwali, for the celebration of Diwali with Shah Rukh Khan.
Oh, okay.
So they have done the same impersonification with Shah Rukh Khan by providing the wishes. So yeah, there are many use cases rolling upon now with this impersonification. You can use the Modi ji is very famous now. Many people have cloned his voice.
Yeah.
And utilizing for their use cases.
So yeah, similar to this, there are like many others that are like emerging, but I feel the more and also if you see Alexa, right, few days back, like not even days, like few years back, there was like typical female voice that is coming out by default from Alexa, but recently they have added a new voice of Amitabh Bachchan. So
yes, even in PhonePe.
Okay.
PhonePe, when you've done the transaction,
that's
now a celebrity voice is getting
yeah.
rolled on.
Yeah. So they are mimicking these voices by taking some data and then like processing it, and whatever it is that the content that they type, and it gives out the same voice.
Yes.
That's interesting, but I feel like we are losing out the authenticity of the original voice of Amitabh Bachchan or any other, like Shah Rukh Khan, whoever it is. But it's great that they're like doing it and it's coming out exactly the way they sound, the original voice, the way Amitabh Bachchan sounds or the way Shah Rukh Khan sounds, it's coming out in the same exact format. But they have pulled it out through these models. That's great.
So you were right. We are losing the authenticity, but there's a positive way as well. Like Amitabh Bachchan is a native speaker of Hindi, so but he's well known across India. But when Amitabh Bachchan speak in other regional languages, so people get more connected towards that particular audio or the movie, right? So in that way, the market gets increased. So the horizon gets increased. So nowadays,
they attract the
audiences more.
Yeah.
Audiences more. So we can see in a positive way that people gets attracted to that one because of their regional feeling. People are more inclined towards their language. So when a celebrity has spoken with their language, right, obviously you get a good market over there. So that's how it's a positive sign, I can say.
Yeah.
But the thing is, how natural the voice is. So instead of having a robotic voice, when you get more naturality to that voice conversion, so obviously you feel like Amitabh Bachchan has just spoken in that original language.
When you have to produce such high quality output, obviously you will be needing the right data for it.
Correct.
So obviously, like, I feel it will be a challenge to obtain such realistic data, because like we can scrape through movies, get their voice and then use it, but how good it is to use the data that is available out there versus like how you can create your own data to produce such high quality output.
Okay, so the data which is available in internet, like YouTube's and all, will have its noise. Okay, so this obviously background noise will be all the movie data, celebrity data, will be recorded in a condenser mic in the closed studio,
In a closed environment.
Okay, so obviously the acoustic is completely different compared to the YouTube recorded video, whatever you have taken. So when you take such kind of videos, obviously the output will produce in the same manner only. So we need to have a proper quality studio data. So that will goes for a training and get the quality data. So when you have a quality data as an input, you get the quality data as an output. Obviously there are some enhancement, speech enhancements which are doing by Adobe, Facebook as well, but that won't be fulfill our criteria. So we have to be more beyond towards the high quality. So when you get the high quality data.
So in such scenarios, do you think the voice that we want to get it through the text or the content that people provide, is it a specific criteria that we'll have to like get them into a studio and record? Like how many hours of content is good enough for producing that such high quality output?
Okay, so I think you will be amazed when I say the content. It's not even hours. It's just 10 minutes of data.
Oh, okay.
When you have a 10 minutes of proper quality data, you can produce the quality output.
Oh.
So many models like RVC, all these models, self-supervised learning dependency models, like FreeVC, these models are there. So you don't need a hours of target data. You just need only 10 minutes of data to be processed, but to high quality data, you're going to get the good quality output.
But within that 10 minutes, the model should understand the highs and lows of that specific voice, right?
Yes.
So is it good enough with the 10 minutes, whatever content that the person provides, or is it that the model can understand and create a new pattern producing like such high outputs through just 10 minutes of data?
Yeah, you're right. So I understand. I think you are going in a emotional expression.
Not just like people
thing.
Doesn't actually stick to one way of speaking. So when they are speaking with some other person in some context, he will maintain his base in specific way. But he's speaking when he's in a crowd, he wants to like communicate with some other person, he might use in a different way, and like it differs from depending on the environment, depending on the context, and depending on what he's speaking out. So it's not always the same. Like if a machine speaks, it speaks without any emotions, but if a person speaks, it speaks with an emotion added to it.
Correct.
So I feel emotion is still a challenge.
Indeed, yes, it is a challenging part. When you obviously are mimicking the source, right? So when you have a target data, but you need to mimic the source content, how the pace he has spoken, with the intensity, the prosody he has given. So the same thing will be mimicked by the mimicked with that output we are going to get. But we need to make sure that the linguistic content is the main part, like how well the content is getting transferred from source to audio, source to target. After content, as you said, like emotion, if it includes any emotion, we need to ensure that emotion has been transferred or not. So nowadays there are many emotional data sets. Sony is highly working on emotional data set. Okay, so they are doing some research on having a huge amount of emotional data sets. So there are like categories in emotions, like angry, sad, whisper, crying, extreme crying. So these kind of data, sample data will be imbibed into the training data. So as a sample, okay, so it learns the patterns and try to mimic the same output. Okay, I can say one example here. So you have seen image generations, right?
Yes, yeah.
There are a lot
The
of image
diffusion
generation.
models, right?
Yeah, diffusion
Yeah.
models. There are many Mid-Journey,
Yeah.
Leonard.ai.
Yes.
So they are doing these kind of image generations. So the diffusion models concept itself, it is used for creating a synthetic data. So you are generating the
Yes,
AI data, right? So obviously, if you see the concept of diffusion models, it's very funny. So you add a noise data, okay? You purposefully adding the noise data to the model, okay, and trying to clean that model, and you are you are trying to understand that how well it is, cleaning that noise, how well you are constructing the original noise by from the source noisy data.
Okay.
So that's how the diffusion models are working very well. So there are many diffusion models now, like stable diffusion is one such model where it is doing this job, okay, in generation. And back then there were other models called VAE, so variational autoencoder. It tries to convert
Yes,
the same.
yeah.
You know about
Yeah.
that VAEs and all, right? GANs
Yeah.
are also doing the same thing. GAN is also the funny architecture, we can say, where you have a sample data will be produced inside the generator, and after generator you have a discriminator. So you discriminator is the right decision maker that whatever the noise generator has been generated is correct or not. So you need to fool the generator, like there is a discrimination, it goes against these
Correct.
two
Yeah.
algorithms, like how the generator is working, how the discriminator is working. So this is a crazy concepts are going in a generation part, especially like how the generative AI
Got
is
it.
now, right? There is a long LLMs, then GANs, VAE. Now we are in diffusion model stage.
Got it. That's great. So, while knowing about the speech architecture and speech models, I've come across a term called speaker diarization.
Yes.
So, can you briefly describe what exactly it is?
Okay. So speaker direction is nothing but, so when two persons or more than two persons are having a conversation, so we need to understand that who has spoken. Okay. So this is especially using in the obviously there are many use cases with the speaker diarization. When one example is crime. So when you are suspecting one accused, so you have an accused person, so you are interrogating that particular person. So there is obviously the interrogation goes between the accused and the interrogator, right? So when you are submitting that conversation to the judge, he needs to understand who has spoken. So that whole conversation will be picked up and trying to understand who has spoken based on the time frame. So when you speak, you have a certain time frame. When I speak, I have a certain time frame, right? So speaker diarization job is to understand who has spoken at what time, and try to cut that particular time frame and provide with the ID. So identification. So speaker diarization is nothing but the VAD. So voice identification, VID, voice identification, who has spoken. So when you have a certain ID and when I spoke, I have a certain ID. So that's how it splits and provide to that one. And it even also using in the healthcare industry. So when you are collecting the health records of the patient, and the conversation between the doctor and the patient, so it tries to understand who has spoken, when doctor has spoken and when patient has spoken.
Okay.
Yeah, speaker diarization has a very wide varieties of, even in conferences also. If you see in stock market annual general meetings and all, there is a conference goes, and that will be published. General meetings usually publish. So if you want to understand who has spoken, so their speaker diarization would help us to understand.
Okay.
Yeah, we can take many use cases.
Okay. Just pointing back to a previous question, you have mentioned about uh, we can just provide a 10-minute audio clip to a model and it can do wonders with it.
Yes.
So, obviously, introducing emotions to an audio output is still a challenge.
Yeah.
So, can you name any resources where, for anyone out there, if you want to train their own ASR model or their own TTS model, whatever it is, can you name any few resources out there that are available where they are collecting the data or they are producing some data sets for training purpose, or they themselves provide a ready-made model that is out there which we can use it?
Okay. So, if you heard about OpenAI Whisper,
Yeah.
so there's a OpenAI Whisper large model, okay, V3 version. So this is exactly what you are telling, right? This is exactly doing. OpenAI Whisper is doing the same thing. It provides the text transcriptions for the voice, okay. And by the way, it has been trained on 40 million unlabeled data, hours of unlabeled data, weekly labeled data you call it, and 100 millions of proper labeled data. So it's a huge model, okay, and it has been trained across 60 languages, more than 60 languages. And even our Indian languages are also included in that one, like Telugu, Hindi, Kannada, Malayalam. So all these languages have been included. So when that is one such use case where you can make use of getting the text transcriptions using the ASR model. And there are many such cases like Kaldi. So Kaldi is also doing the same thing. So where it's a framework completely. It helps to understand the data and provide some frameworks. And AI for Bharat is one such data which is backed by IIT Madras. Okay, so they're doing wonders in collecting the data and processing the data and creating the huge data sets, especially for the Indian languages. So you know that it's a where we have a huge number of languages, enormous languages here, and it has its own dialects. So obviously these are pioneers in collecting the data and providing the ASR solutions.
Okay. So, similar to these products, I've seen in few of the organizations, they use Kaldi ASR as a go-to ASR model.
Yes.
So, along with it, are there any other products similar to it, and how difficult it is to adopt to these models?
Uh, for understanding this, you obviously it requires speech understanding is required, obviously. So that's a prerequisite. You need to understand how speech features works, how we are able to do that. And if you are want to do from the web perspective, I mean web UI perspective, many people are doing now RVC. So all these ModiG voice conversions are doing by RVC itself. So it's just a simple UI where you need to upload the source content and select the speaker. So from the drop down, which speaker you want to you want to convert, you want to impersonify. So as soon as you select, the web UI converts that within a short of minutes and provide that one. That's a simple thing. But if you want to properly develop from the core, there are some self-supervised learning mechanisms, models I told, right? Wave to Wake, and Wave to Wake is backed by Meta. It is developed by Meta actually. And there are other models like GANs. Okay, so GAN is also doing like Star GAN, V2VC, Free VC. There are these models, Sovit's VC. So there are also doing the singing voice conversion also.
Great. With these emerging technologies that are rolling out year by year, now that GPT also announced that they are releasing a vision model as well, which is capable of converting from text to video.
Yes.
So, obviously there will be some R&D going on across these different companies.
Yeah.
How will it impact Indian market going forward?
Okay. So obviously it will impact the Indian market in several ways. So one is economic impact. Okay. So the way AI is emerging, right? So into certain industries, let's take healthcare industry. So it even goes into the rural areas as well. So the medicine or the health checkups, which is even getting more and more closer towards and inclined towards the rural areas, and the people who are living in rural areas are getting health checkup. So there are many digital doctors, so using this AI technology, so they are bringing the AI towards the rural areas and all. and obviously the banking industry. So they are also mostly utilizing these AI. So obviously it will impact. So these are the two areas where we need to consider that it will impact the economic area, overall Indian economic. Okay, so banking industry and the healthcare industry are the two pioneers in generating huge revenue here. So obviously AI is doing very good in these two areas. And next is the job implications, right? So when you have a right skill set, right? So obviously upskilling and reskilling is the primary concern here. So when you have these two skills, obviously you get huge opportunities. When you are stop doing the repeating activities and making use of the AI, so obviously it creates a new job opportunities as well. So instead of doing that mundane activities, mundane tasks, so AI create some let AI take care of those automatic tasks, and we can explore the new doors for new opportunities. So that's the job impact, job market impact, I can say. And when it comes to startups and its implications, there are many startups like Haptic. Mostly they are doing very good in conversational AI, and there's one more startup which is in cropping. Okay, so they are doing very good in agriculture related. So you can take any industries. Okay, so now AI is doing very good. So obviously these are the main things. Obviously we are also depending on the agriculture. India has a huge agriculture dependency, so it will definitely impact the economy of India, I can say. And startup cultures, this would be the high things. And future implications, when you have a huge skill set, and the market is going across the different multi models, right? So different industries comes into the picture. So entertainment industry, health tech, ed tech is one such industry.
During the pandemic, right? You would have seen so many companies focusing on conversational agents, where they automate the IVR system. So,
Yes.
can you please talk about the transition that happened during the pandemic when it comes to IVR?
So this IVR process transformation, right? There's a huge transition happened by thanks to LLMs, by bringing these AI agents and replacing the old traditional IVRS system. So there are certain criteria back then when they are using the IVRS, the whoever the agents, right, the human agents who are talking, they need to satisfy certain criteria. Okay, so they are going to evaluate using a parameter called containment. Okay, so how well they are following that particular script, are they following the whole script provided by the organization or not? So these are the main criteria they're going to check and evaluate the human criteria, that whether this person is suitable for IVRS or not. When it has been replaced with AI agent, obviously the revenue has been increased much more, because obviously when you are spending the human agent is requires $5 per a call, so AI agent requires just a $1 per call. So obviously you're going to reduce $4 for a particular call, right? So there's a huge revenue he can save. So with that, IVR system is completely transitioned, having these statistics in their mind. They want to replace, and moreover AI agents are doing very well. Okay, replacing these human agents with AI agents, having a right conversation, going in a right flow. So obviously there's a huge transition which happened.
So, just to add on to your response, I have luckily got my hands on, building some of these few agents myself. So, I felt there is a lot of gap between a realistic human handling an IVR call versus a bot handling the call. So, I think by now they would have come across with few workarounds to fill that gap, but the gap is still there. So going down the line, going down like 3 years or 4 years into the future, do you think the gap will be like filled with new methodologies and technologies, or is it like not possible to fill and replace a realistic agent just like how a human works?
In a shorter way, the answer is yes. So we don't need to wait much time to get that thing happen, because there are a lot of AI agents which are developed using, there's a concept called RHFL, so reinforcement human feedback learning. So based on the feedback they're getting from the thing, they're continuously learning from the old data, from the data which has been got with the conversation happened between the human and the agent, human and AI and the human. It's learning continuously, and it's fine tuning with the prompts. With the prompt engineering comes to the picture, so that's even much more sooner we're going to move down the line. From the next 3 years, it is going to have a complete good accuracy. And obviously there are some metrics, as I told before, that containment is one of the metric they're going to evaluate. Similarly, they are going to reach the highest accuracy in terms of attending the service calls in a good accuracy, with a estimated accuracy of around 90 or 95, whatever the percentage which they are expecting.
Okay, that's great. If that happens, that's that's very good.
Yeah.
When you're working in the industry, specifically the data science related projects, so have you ever gave a guess that something like what GPT is able to do would coming to reality, and you can leverage all of its capabilities? So have it ever come across your mind that you could actually see some product in reality?
Yes, I came across these things, and me and my colleagues were, were in an off state, like whether how this problem could be solved. The actual problem is like we are developing a open Q&A, okay, so with a more realistic interaction. So we thought of taking on, that's 2020, okay. So whenever a user gets bored or want to get more information related to that one, the agent, the Ava agent which we developed, so would be the right agent to provide all the possible solutions related to the questions he or she is having. Okay, we researched a lot of data sets, and we stumbled upon one of the data set called WikiHow dataset. So that was released on 2018. The dataset name is called WikiHow text summarization dataset. So you know the WikiHow dataset,
Yes,
how
I know
it's
it.
right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you can get the possible solutions for any question you're having.
So given a question, it
You get
has
the
like step
sequential
1,
steps.
step 2,
Yeah,
step 3,
the sequential steps.
explanation of everything.
Yes,
Yeah.
including the pictures as well.
Yes,
So
yes,
it
yes.
has a pictures as well. So we thought to have a big project, okay, so where to store that data set and making use of that data set in a right way, having a open AI Q&A conversation, and provide some personification to that. So we thought of this would be a complicated task, because there are some small talks need to be included, there are some feedback mechanism need to be included. We just gave a thought like why don't we have a one model which solves all these
There's everything
problems,
in it. Yeah.
everything in it. So boom, after 2 years, no,
We have GPT.
2022
Yeah.
2022 November 8th, GPT got released.
Yeah.
And it is rightly solving the exact use case where we were struggling to
Struggling
solve
to
on
solve. Yeah.
2020.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a amazing thing.
And at the same time, now that they have released GPT 4.0, what were your impressions towards that?
Technology is changing drastically, like within a short time. This drastic change, sometimes I feel like it's too overwhelming. Yeah, in one another way, it's good for solving the complex problems. So where we are leveraging this AI, right? And thanks to ChatGPTs, where it is trying to solve all the repeated tasks and focus on more productive one. So back then, people are focusing on doing the same repeating tasks, with a human intervention. But when you leverage ChatGPT, obviously you can automate those tasks and you focus on more tasks. So in another way, for me, it is like I feel like I can put more focus on more productive tasks instead of focusing on the repeated tasks. Yeah, but the thing is like how well you are utilizing the ChatGPT is the primary concern.
Got it.
Now I have one question. You asked a lot of questions. I wanted to know about your experience, because you've been in this LLMs and using this generative AI in your past 4 years, right? So I want to know your experience of using this LangChain framework or any LLMs, or these kind of chatbots. So how was your experience using this one, and what kind of problems you are solving now?
So firstly, there are some brilliant folks out there who have built amazing frameworks, like you mentioned, Llama Index and also LangChain. So I think his name is Harrison Chase. So I've seen him giving some information about the LangChain framework and how it works and what is the integral part of it and all of it. So that really amazed me, the way he has built the entire architecture. So before even LangChain came into picture, I was amazed to see the architecture of Rasa. So even though it does 50% of the job properly,
Yes.
there are some loopholes in it, but the way they have architectured it, that's brilliant. So when I've explored LangChain, it's similar to Rasa itself, but it is on a larger picture,
Yeah.
it has much more elements compared to Rasa.
True.
It can perform like multiple things with
True.
a lot of integrations with different applications. So building something like that is not quite easy, obviously. And initial days when I was using LangChain, there were a lot of issues, and many people were like reporting it on the GitHub pages,
Yes.
and they were consistently trying to fix the
True.
issues.
They are releasing the bug fixes. They are
Bug
doing all these
fixes
bug fixes.
that kept happening for several
Yeah,
days.
true.
I see every day there is some fix over there.
Mhm.
Initial days it disappointed me with few integrations with other applications, but post after 2 or 3 months, after like I again tried the framework, it truly amazed me. Like they have fixed so many things and they have put in much more work in giving integrations for many other applications.
Exactly.
And now at where we stand, right, these LLMs have integration with LangChain and with other applications, and making it very easy for building any application just like that.
True.
So that integration enables the developers to swiftly write code and
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. You have everything in the LangChain.
Yeah,
It's like plug and play.
Exactly.
Obviously, when you process these huge documents, right? So LangChain is doing exactly.
I have explored Llama Index as well.
Oh, good.
They also do the same. They both compete with each other. It's like you have Meta, like the Llama models, what they are producing. Similarly, we have Gemini, the LM models that they are producing, and similarly we have GPT. So all of these models, they drive towards one goal: producing right responses for the end user.
Exactly.
And
relevant responses.
Exactly, relevant responses. But they have their own limitations for each model. I feel in the coming down the line, in like 3 years or 2 years, we will obviously see these generative models along with audio as well. Now that GPT-4o is out,
Who is having that?
definitely there will be someone out there building something amazing, just like how GPT-4o is capable of. So I'm curious to know what they would end up building.
Looking forward.
I hope all of insights what you have given today will help like some amount of the audience, whoever is watching. It will probably help them to accelerate in a specific domain that they are interested in, or getting some insights on what they are working currently. So hopefully,
Yeah.
whoever is watching it got some good amounts of insights. And since this is the first podcast, I'm very much thrilled. I'm glad that you came all the way.
I'm honored actually
Yeah.
to be your first guest, and you are building a community.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that I'm part of that community. So
You're the first person in the community.
in one other way that I'm honored. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm honored to be your first guest. The friendship we are holding, and with our past experiences.
Yeah.
So you thought that you want me to be the first guest. That's a good.
Once again, thanks all the way for coming here and being our guest for today. And
thank you so much.
Hopefully, once again, this video hopefully it will benefit a part of the audience out there.
Hopefully, yes.
And yeah, thanks for coming in.
Let's build a strong community, especially in the generative AI field or speech field, wherever people want to be. We will build a strong community, and we will share our knowledge with each other, and we will grow ourselves.
Sure.